Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. No matter what time of the day or night it is a great time to be a Gamecock because we hit the launch button on the Ladies First podcast. And as a gentleman, I know it is ladies first. We are talking about the defending national champions, Dawn's Daycare. The ladies are set to hit the court against the Michigan Wolverines, and it is going to be a fantastic matchup out in Vegas, Sin City. It is going to be a great time. It's nice to see, them getting hopefully a great trip out there, able to enjoy some of the sights, the sounds, the tastes of the city before getting to the big game, which is going to be nationally televised, of course. There's a lot of games that are going to be nationally televised this year, and we have a lot to talk about in the way of starting out the season, looking down the road a little bit, breaking things down in a minimal sense. I don't want to get too in-depth because this is the first podcast I'm launching, and I do not have my co-host here with me. For those of you who do not know me, my name's Tony Chivaroli. I'm actually a meteorologist here in Columbia, South Carolina, and my brother-in-law Adam works at the Riverbanks Zoo. Both big Gamecocks fans, and I'll get a little bit more into my history. I'll let Adam do more talking when he's here with me, but I'm doing this one solo. But we dive in, TNT and True TV, 7:30 p.m., November 4th. Ladies starting the season, and it is going to be under the scope of a lot of eyes as they work to defend that title and also defend the number one AP poll spot, and they deserve it. All the success that they've had, all the talent on that team, it is going to be just a fantastic atmosphere. And also, personally, for me, I love that they're opening up this season against Michigan because I hate Michigan. I don't have anything personal against any of the athletes there. I'm sure a lot of them are very fine and nice people, but I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, originally a big Penn State fan. I still am. I love Penn State, especially for football, other than, everything. I love the Gamecocks as well. But, Michigan has been a rival of mine across the sports realm for a long, long time. So love to see when South Carolina might have the chance to knock off one of the Big Ten rivals, which I have come to not be too fond of. But yes, 7:30, TNT, True TV with that tip. It is going to be a pretty good matchup here as we start out the season. We get into more of these primers going into not just this game, but taking a look at some of the other big matchups as we go further in the season. But there will be some good little matchups here. We obviously have a lot of budding talent on this South Carolina roster. We have talent that we already know is in place, and that's something that is no stranger to the world. We've really seen a big renaissance of women's basketball, and that's been fantastic as well. I've been so happy to see the growth of the women's game. It has deserved this growth for a long, long time. Not just at the college level, because that at least has been growing. Caitlin Clark, with her time at Iowa, really helped put more eyeballs to the sport. And some people do like to hate on her, but I get it. She drew attention to many games, and she's the reason why a lot of eyeballs were able to be put on other schools, and fans could see these other great players. And one special thing, though, about South Carolina is it hasn't really been centered on one player. Iowa did have some good key pieces around Clark in her time there. They still were runners-up to the Gamecocks in the national title game last year. But South Carolina just has such a good infusion of talent overall. It's just a team that's so fun to watch. And they're such an inspiring team, which is one of the big reasons I've been inspired to want to make this show, make this podcast. They truly have, captivated me in wanting to watch them play every game when possible. And I'm sure they've done that with a lot of people and a lot of you that will be listening into this as well, that share my thoughts and love for the team. Some of you lifelong fans, no doubt about it, have been through some tougher years, years before Dawn Staley, before we were seeing more consistent national titles. I've only been a fan for 4 years, and I'm spoiled, super, super spoiled as a fan, coming in just to start watching them when they've already been so successful. But, I knew about the team. I've always loved Dawn Staley, being from Pennsylvania, big Philly sports fan myself. Love the Birds, love the Philadelphia Eagles just like she does. So, really loving those Philly ties with Dawn. But in terms of actually watching the team, before I get into more of the roster, which I'm going to start in just a second as we, just break down some of these players, the reason I really started watching the women is I moved to Myrtle Beach from Pennsylvania 4 years ago. Loved it. Loved living at the beach. Great time down at the ocean. Definitely took it for granted, but there was a bar down there in a place called Murrell's Inlet. For any of you that know that part of the South Carolina coast, called Dead Dog Saloon. Nice little sports bar and restaurant. Great live music, and their big thing is they have all these big memorials on the wall. All these dogs that have passed away. From people that frequent there, people that visit the beach, and there's all these hundreds and hundreds of pictures as a remembrance and a memorial to all these patrons and their dogs that have since passed. It is really touching stuff, and plays into the whole Dead Dog Saloon thing. But anyway, watched a South Carolina women's basketball game that a small group of people were watching on the TV. And I'd seen them on TV before, but I'd never really invested my time into, really becoming a in-depth women's basketball fan. I'd watch it if it was on. I did watch some of the women's tournament as well, even as long as 6-7 years ago. But they were just so talented. Just seeing the pace and seeing Dawn and just everything that went into that championship mentality, it's just continued to carry along year after year. And that's when I really started to become a fan. I was like, wow, just seeing these people, random people I don't know in a bar, so into this women's basketball game. It's like, I want to do that. I could really get into this team. I want to watch them more. I want to see this team and this program grow and continue to be contending for national titles and shedding a great spotlight on not just the state of South Carolina, but, the Midlands as well, Columbia, and just the center of the state, which, not everyone gets to see all the time, There's a lot more focus on, the tourism and the coast, Charleston and Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach. But from a sports aspect, even Clemson gets a little bit more of that spotlight, especially in a football sense. They've had success in the past, but, it's Gamecock all the way for me. No doubt about it. Ever since I've moved here, I've made that decision. It's like, yep, definitely a garnet and black type of person, and here we are. So, starting out the season, a lot of players poised to continue their success, which is not going to be a surprise. Tahina Pow going to be hitting those threes, no doubt about it. Perhaps we'll see Maddie McDaniel out there. Tessa Johnson, pure shooter, very talented. Cannot wait to see her make a jump. Actually just ordered myself a couple jerseys from some of these players. I just got a Tessa Johnson and was thinking Mylasia Full-Wiley. Wanted to get a Full-Wiley jersey, but one of the first players I really started to like her style of play was Raven Johnson, so waiting for the shipping confirmation on my Raven Johnson and Tessa Johnson jersey. But getting back to the players, we are really going to see just more of that talent show through. Full-Wiley already showed it last year. This year, coming in as a sophomore, should continue to explode onto the scene, showcasing, all right, why you're probably going to be in the WNBA in a couple years. And then freshman Joyce Edwards, man, she's already been super impressive. And I love the story with Joyce because she is a local talent from Camden, already starting to, show double-doubles. We're not even in the regular season yet, and she's already done this in 2 exhibition games. One of them against, a reasonably good opponent in Memphis. So, it's not just a fluke, and her prowess is obviously something that's going to carry over as we keep going forward into the year. But the rest of this roster is just so talented. Just even seeing some of the transfer talent. Got Maryam Dauda. I want to make sure I'm getting all these names right because I'm just trying to remember all off the top of my head. Or is it Dauda? Sorry if I'm messing up her name. But all the other ones I'm pretty much continuing to have pressed into my brain. You got Chloe Kitts, you got Bree Hall, you got Sanaya Fagan. They're all going to be out there, and they are all going to be very successful. And, of course, we cannot forget Miss Swatkins. I know she's going through her own situation, some of the legal troubles, but, hopefully that's going to be something that gets settled down. The court date got pushed back, so we'll see what goes on with her. On the court, man, dominant, so good, incredible force. Just need to get past some of these behind-the-scenes issues that have befallen her over the past couple months, and we'll see what happens there. But truly hope to see our entire beloved roster all out there together in later phases of the season. But she is still not with the team, not making the trip to Vegas. So, we'll see all what goes on there. But the talent is just, it's tough to say that they can be matched up with someone and say, on paper, all right, this team is better than this team. It's just so well-rounded, and it all just comes down to the inspiring combination of, hey, these women are just such great pure shooters, great passers, great defenders. They have all the right pieces in all the right places, which is just incredible. And, I can't say enough about these women out there and all that they do to, amaze us on the court. So with that and this incredibly talented roster that, I'm sure is already going to be meshing once we look down the road, I do think, just from the scoring standpoint, as we start to see, more of the ball getting spread around, I'm not sure if someone's going to really take a big leap and one of them is going to, make that push to really be putting a lot more buckets in, because there's already just so much of this talent out there. Can't even forget about Adele Tack, too. Adele, that's right, as a redshirt freshman. She's coming in as well. It's going to be stacked. Like I said, I can't say enough about the talent out here, which is why it's so easy to be a fan. It was easy to be a fan when I started 4 years ago. They make it easy now because they just put such a show out there every game. And it's incredible. And they're number one for a reason. But as we look into Michigan and, get away from glorifying our own team for a moment, Jordan Hobbs, pretty good player, very solid actually, from Michigan. She's a senior guard, 6'3", and she's definitely going to be one to watch. She is their biggest returning scorer. She averaged around 10 points a game. She was team high in assists, and she is going to be more of the leader now, a pivotal leader, to see where Michigan is going to go from this point forward, because they did lose a lot of starters, but they brought in a lot of talent. So leading the way will likely be Jordan Hobbs. Definitely need to watch out for number 10. But I read into some of Michigan's players, some of what they are looking at in terms of bringing in younger players on the roster. They brought in a couple transfers, but the two players I really want to look out for, and I've read through a few articles, the specific one I'm referencing here is from MichiganDaily.com, and it really goes over the talent level of their freshman wing, Olivia Olson, and their new freshman guard, Silas Swords. Cool name. Don't like Michigan, being a Penn State fan, but Silas Swords. Love that name. Really cool name. And it's more of the young guns that South Carolina is going to have to watch out for. There's only so much tape when you go over things such as this, when you're seeing new freshmen coming in. I'm sure they're going to try to get somewhat creative. You can only do so much in basketball, but when you're starting off this season, even though it's on a neutral floor against the number one team in the country, it could definitely be nerve-wracking, and you're going to try and pull out all the stops that you can. But Olivia Olson is a freshman wing coming in, and Silas Swords is a freshman guard coming in. Number 20 and number 4 overall recruits in the 2024 class coming in. So very, very impressive. And ESPN, from ESPN.com, had their recruiting class ranked number 8 overall. So Michigan women's basketball definitely looking to be on the rise with this crop of young talent that they've added in, and just more of the existing roster players that are still there. Still looking at Hobbs to be more of that main threat. Definitely need to watch out for her. So they're going to be looking to try and shock the world and pull off that big upset, and that's going to be something to watch. You're going to have a team that's hungry. You're going to see any team that is unranked going against a top 5 program, always with that mentality of, hey, we've got nothing to lose. Might just start seeing them chucking up some threes, running some interesting plays, and sometimes, the ball just finds the bucket. You never know. It definitely is more of a common thing in the men's game when we're going into these upsets and crazy wins, when you're seeing top 5 teams go down to even unranked opponents. But you never know. Basketball is a crazy sport like that. It's not as complex as football. It's just, you're putting the ball in the hoop. You still need to make sure you have that proper touch. You need to make sure you're playing with grace and grit. Grace and grit. It's not just about, who's the strongest. It's not just about who's the fastest. There's still a lot of fundamentals that go into the game of basketball. And, the women at South Carolina are second to none right now in doing that. I've only been able to follow other programs so closely, and I know there's going to be other teams that are really getting close to them this year, if not trying to overtake them in recreating that talent and recreating rosters. I know there's a lot of good schools out there. USC, other USC in California, definitely going to be one to watch as we go through this season. And just going through some of their other games past this one, which I still think they should be able to handle just fine as we look down the road. There's going to be some really tough ones, no doubt about it, and home tilts as well. The season schedule looks fantastic. There's going to be so many exciting games. There's a lot of nationally televised games, which is going to be so fun. But as we just go through some of the big ones, you got Michigan coming up. Great. You're playing against a lot of good young talent out in Vegas, neutral court. You got the game up in Charlotte against NC State. You Final Four team last year. That is going to be a great matchup on November 10th. We can go against Clemson on November 20th. UCLA at there, November 24th. You got Purdue. You're playing them on the neutral floor. And Iowa State in Fort Myers as we go through a tournament getting just after Thanksgiving. Duke. Big home game. That's really the first big home game, and that is December 5th. Definitely pencil that one in. That is going to be a fun matchup. Whenever you play other teams in the Carolinas, no matter what, even if there's somewhat of a talent gap, it's always going to be a great game. Whenever they get to play teams like North Carolina or Duke, more of those blue bloods of basketball historically, especially on the men's side of things, that's going to be really fun. And as we look even further down, I'm really looking into some of these matchups ahead that are going to be so exciting, whether it's going to be on the road, but just some of the home tilts are fantastic. Getting into wintertime, a lot of great winter games here. Got Texas on January 12th, Oklahoma week after on the 19th, LSU on the 23rd. So, man, just between January 12th and the 23rd, incredible games. And then they host UConn. Gotta always watch out for those Huskies on February 16th. So much fun to have this season. And I can't wait to break down more of these games on a game-by-game basis, just like, we're doing with the Michigan one. Seeing some of these primers, some of the success they had last year, especially with NC State. They're really going to be one to watch, especially because they always have a talented women's program. They're very scrappy. They are a scrappy women's team. They made an incredible run last year, and they're definitely a team that you do not want to take lightly. And they're coming into the season ranked 9th. So, that's going to be huge. And that game on ESPN, that's 3 o'clock as we take a look ahead on Sunday, November 10th. So really just getting into the start of the season here, some of these neutral court games with incredible matchups. And I'm so excited for this sport. I'm just glad to finally have a platform that we could talk about this more. We can go over more of the, national spotlight that is going to be on the women's game that has definitely lacked. Not as much in recent years, but, you go 10 years, you go 20 years in the past, they just didn't have this kind of spotlight. It was an afterthought. It always paired in comparison to the men's tournament. You did March Madness, and you filled out a men's bracket. No one gave a damn about what was going on with the women's game, and they should have. And that's been a mistake for a long time because people have been missing out on a lot of great basketball, incredible ball movement, incredible defense, incredible shooting. It's still been there. It's been talked about. It just hasn't been to the mainstream capacity like we should be seeing, and we are seeing now. And luckily, that was not there in the past is social media now. Not everyone's going to be a big fan of social media and certain aspects of it, but in terms of sharing incredible plays, incredible moments, sports moments that are more meaningful than the game, you talk about, all these platforms that are great to see in that regard, Instagram and videos and reels from there, the TikTok content that comes from some of these games, just more of unfiltered plays from some of these sports that fans or professional media members can share and just, get it out there and say, hey, wow, look at these women. Look at the incredible things that they are doing. You need to start watching women's college basketball and do it religiously. do it religiously. Don't take your eyes off the screen. Keep watching. Get those Nielsen ratings up. Make sure that more money is being thrown at the women's game so that can continue to contribute to the WNBA rosters and the money that they're making and the money they deserve and fans that should be going to those stadiums, and in turn seeing more of big cities around the country getting more WNBA teams, because, going into this past season, there's only been 12. You need to have somewhere for these ladies to go where they could actually perform in this professional sense and be making more money, because they deserve to. They've deserved to for a long time, and there should be more outlets and more teams and fan bases and cities that can rally around these programs. You saw it in Indiana with the Fever, the Caitlin Clark effect. Great. Love that for her, and she really helped pack that stadium, which has been fantastic. I mean, obviously, it was great to see her paired with Boston, great former, Gamecock player, and they've been very good double trouble. They've been fantastic there in Indiana. Of course, they didn't win the title. They didn't make it that far. But, it's still getting more eyes on the sport, more excitement. I don't think I've seen as many videos ever as I have for a WNBA championship parade than I have this past year with, the New York Liberty and, a lot of fans packing the streets for when they had their championship parade, which was awesome because it got coverage, as it should be getting coverage, and it's actually getting people and fans excited. And I just want to always keep fostering and pointing people in that right direction of, please keep following players, especially, former Gamecocks, our team we love, to the next level. Show them love, because you're only going to help their team get more exposure, get more national attention, and, put more money in their pocket, because those women deserve it. And they're not all going to get those big sponsorship deals. They're not all going to get big brands and crazy endorsement deals. Some of the top players in the game and the more recognizable ones will, the Angel Reeses of the world and Caitlin Clarks. Obviously, there's a handful of players out there that will get their due. Even just as we look on and we could talk about some of these rosters, it's just not going to be enough. Some of these women need to do other things, other times of the year, and you can't just rely on a salary from playing the sport that you love, like some of the NBA players do. Some of those guys, the crazy amount of millions that they're making. But that's just how it is. That's just how the sport is, and how we have to go through this. One of my favorite players from South Carolina, Camila Cardoso. I loved watching her play. She was incredible talent. And I actually did pick up a jersey of hers. I have a number 10 Chi-Town jersey in my closet. It was great to be able to watch some of those games on national TV. So, just going on, and as we go through the changes of this season and into the future, make sure you're giving players their due. But as we bring it back, of course, this is a Gamecock podcast. We will be talking about some of the WNBA, especially after we, with projections, get through this entire season. This podcast thrives, and we'll be doing this late into the postseason. That is obviously our goal and our hope. And we will be seeing potential Gamecocks going to the WNBA following the draft, following the season. And that's something I really want to piggyback off of this. And I think it is going to be a great thing that we could all talk about and all converse on together as we see our ladies make that step to the next level. But for right now, it's just about how we're going at it and how we're going to be looking at this season. So last year they went undefeated. Great. Wonderful. Grand. Put up the banner. Don's Daycare's done it again. National champions. It's incredible. It was an incredible year. When you go undefeated, it's a tough thing to do. In basketball, it's a very tough thing to do. It's pretty much impossible in a sport like baseball, in sports when you get more and more games. But, it's a little bit more doable for football. You see every now and again teams running the table, because in college you only have 12 games. It's still a grind. It's still a very tough sport to play, but there's still only 12 games. When you're talking about, the women's game, they were 38-0, 38 wins and no losses. It's tough to replicate. You really need to have an incredible coach at the helm, which luckily they do, and you need to have just a perfect infusion and balance of talent. Now, I've been a sports junkie for a long time. I haven't got to do it in a professional sense, talking about it on this podcast, but just analyzing this team, seeing all the right pieces in play, and just seeing just this Gamecock team coming together. These women just coming into their own with the shooting prowess that they have, with the active hands on defense. And I haven't had to watch them for a really long time to see them just really reaching their peak, seeing their full potential out there because of the incredible coaching staff that they have behind them, the incredible fan base that they have behind them. Big shout out to the FAMs, FAMS, gotta love the FAMs. And that's just something that just ties a really nice bow on what can be another run in a championship season. And, I do follow some of the players on TikTok and their social medias, and they just seem like they truly enjoy each other's company. And that's incredible. That's a big part of it. You want to have great vibes. Gosh, that word is thrown around so damn often in sports. But vibes are important. You want to be friends. You want to be close with the people around you that you're going out there, going to battle with, trying to win a championship with. And that's such a huge part of it. If you're having players or a group of players, say you have one half that's in a clique and the other half in another, it's just tough to work that way. You hope that your entire roster can be as friendly and just goofy and silly as they can off the court, because it really does transition to more prowess and more wins on the floor. Maybe that's not always going to be the case, but I feel like that is a big thing with this team, and it's just inspiring. It's just like, oh man, like they look so fun. They look like they're just all such great friends. Social media isn't always real. Sometimes there's things that go on behind the scenes that you don't know about that are hidden, but I genuinely feel like all these women just, love being around each other and have that family atmosphere. You're not just a team, you're a family out there. You go to bat for each other. You love each other, and that's just going to attribute to that connection that you have on the floor. And it is really important. It is really, really important. In a sport like basketball or, even hockey too, just the smaller the teams out there, it's just 5-on-5. That's it. It is 5-on-5. So with the other 4 people you have out on the floor with you, you really want to have that great sense of connection. Off the floor, hey, that's my friend. That's my buddy. Love her. She's awesome. But you know what? Out here, it's time to dial in. We are serious. We are going to win. But you know what? We have each other's back. We have that mental connection, and we're going to get it done. And that seems to be something that was really there last year, and I easily see it there, this year between any of the new additions, transfer additions, and I really do think it's going to be a fantastic sense in a positive season, and I'm really excited to see this team step forward. And also, between just who I think is going to be the leading scorer of the year, it's tough to say. It is really tough to say because I'm not sure if maybe, Joyce is just going to go on a crazy freshman tear, already having the 2 double-doubles in exhibition. But I do think a safe bet would probably be to go with Full Wiley. She was incredible last year, just the acrobatics and some of the layups, like some NBA-type moves. Again, more of the men's game, NBA-type moves, seeing from her, crazy. Just a truly special talent. And it's incredible that we're seeing all of these talented players from a local level. Full Wiley, Watkins, Joyce Edwards up in Camden, but man, all from here in the Midlands. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, and it definitely helps add to the the fan base, the camaraderie. Them, I'm sure over time continuing to give back to the community, especially as we can easily see a lot of WNBA careers in the future of these women, which is going to be so awesome to see. And also, as I mentioned before, a big Philly sports fan. So I really do hope to see Philly get a WNBA team. If I'm not mistaken, I actually do want to look that up really quick. Luckily, I have my laptop here with me. I think Philadelphia is getting a WNBA team. And I just want to make sure I'm not making that up. Let's see. They're pitching for a WNBA team. They're being considered. Okay. They're being considered for a WNBA team. And they need it. That'd be awesome. I'm sure Philly would be a fantastic city to see some of that camaraderie come around. Maybe Charlotte will get their team back, bring back the Sting. Let's see what's going on with all that. I'm just excited to see the growth of this game. If you can't tell enough, the enthusiasm I have knows no bounds, and I am really excited to further express that through this podcast. I'm roping in my brother-in-law, Adam. I can't wait to talk about more of this with him and just see this season grow. The wins pile up. The wins are going to be piling up. We have faith in these ladies. Want to see them go back-to-back for that title. But there's still going to be a lot of opposition in the way because repeating is not an easy thing. It is not an easy thing. You're always going to have a target on your back coming into the season at number one. So let's settle in, buckle up. It's going to be a fantastic kickoff. I hope these ladies have a fantastic time out in Sin City and just enjoy the bright lights, enjoy the food, enjoy the beautiful dry and sunny weather out there. Forecast is looking nice and easy, as it typically is in Vegas, especially for an early November stretch. So that's all going to be, great things, positive vibes to start out this season. And I'm really excited I'm just saying the word excited a lot because I am. I'm not hiding the fandom that I've had grow about this team. I wouldn't be talking about them. I wouldn't be doing this show if I didn't have the passion that I did for this team, and why I'm actually even here in South Carolina, in this part of South Carolina, in Columbia. This team helped me learn more about the city, learn more about the University of South Carolina and Columbia and the Midlands, and actually doing more research on this part of the state before I moved here, which is great. So, they're inspiring people like me to move here. I moved here for my job, but, I still knew about Columbia and more about the city and the university because, first and foremost, I started watching the women's basketball team when I moved down to the state of South Carolina in Myrtle. So there you go. It's all tied together. It's all fantastic, and I'm happy about it. And this is going to be a great first matchup. So Michigan, yeah, we got those Wolverines. Got to get through that start. Might be seeing a little rocky play just because it is the first game that actually counts. Just got to shake off the rust a little bit. You definitely don't want to get upset if the ladies come out with a slow start. You never know. It can happen. It's definitely going to be something to watch out for, especially on that big stage national TV. But I think that these ladies will handle it just fine. And I predict a win, no surprise, for the first game of the season. Going to be predicting many, many wins. Now, there's going to be some where we see the season progress. I'm interested to see where this team is at, how they will be gelling with the new added talent, whether it's the transfers or, again, our new freshmen coming in. But it is going to be, I would say, it's just tough to gauge that first game of the season to truly understand how they're going to be. But just with the early season jitters, I would say I'm going with a 20-point victory. Maybe that's a little high. Maybe Michigan's going to be a little bit more surprising. But I think that they do have, the guns and the talent just to really be putting up some good numbers out of the gate, especially because Michigan lost, a couple good defenders. They lost their upperclassmen. Yes, they are talented, the Wolverines, but a lot of their talent is on the younger side. So that could definitely hurt them. So I'll backtrack it a little bit. We'll say 18. We'll say South Carolina by 18, but 20 points, I would not be surprised for them to go past that mark. So we'll settle it around that. Just to go along with, hey, it is still the first game of the season. Things could happen. Crazy little bounces. Michigan could be throwing them some crazy things. And that is how I think they're going to start the season. So still a nice and comfortable win. Nothing too crazy, nothing too gritty at the end. And that is what I am predicting. But I am going to be watching shortly. I wish I was out in Sin City for these games. But we'll be watching it from the couch on my flat screen, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you, everybody, for listening along here for the initial launch of the Ladies First podcast. We're going to be talking so much about this women's team this year and all of primers and breakdowns, and would love eventually to get more interviews from players on this team and talk to Dawn. No doubt about that. That's going to be something over time we're going to be working on as we keep growing this, grow our platforms, our social media. We do have a Twitter now. We are growing on Facebook. Still haven't opened up an Instagram yet, but working on that, and TikTok. It's all going to come together. This is just the initial launch. Wanted to get this out there right before the season starts. So thank you again, everybody, for listening. I truly appreciate you being here, making it all the way to the end. It is going to be a great season. The title defense starts now.